Paramount believed they were crafting a $60 million farewell masterpiece, hiring Oscar-nominated talent and banking on the legacy of First Contact's $150 million triumph. But mere months later, wage wars smashed morale, the script changed daily, and a supposed blockbuster turned into a box office catastrophe, losing millions and killing Star Trek movies for 7 years. But it gets worse. The numbers don't lie. How did so much promise collapse into the franchise's biggest disaster? Paramount's confidence soared after Star Trek. First Contact pulled in $150 million worldwide. The studio saw proof that the next generation crew could carry a major blockbuster, and the appetite for more was clear. The numbers don't lie. When it came time to plan the next chapter, executives wasted no time announcing a new film. They were determined to send the crew off with a grand farewell. This was not just another sequel. It was supposed to be a celebration, a final adventure for a cast that had become television royalty. To give the story weight, Paramount brought in John Logan, the acclaimed screenwriter behind Gladiator. Logan's reputation for epic storytelling and sharp character work raised expectations even higher. Early press coverage made a point of his involvement, promising a script worthy of the franchise's legacy. Fans and industry insiders buzzed with anticipation, convinced that Logan's touch would elevate the film beyond the usual science fiction fare. The cast, too, understood the stakes. This was their chance to close out more than a decade of stories with something memorable. Interviews from the time show a sense of pride and excitement, actors discussing this film as a proper send-off, not just another paycheck. The mood around the project was optimistic, and even the studio's budget talk reflected that. With First Contact's box office success as a benchmark, Paramount felt they were making a smart bet. The first glimpses of the production promised scale, spectacle, and emotional closure. For fans, it was easy to believe this film would be the one to stick the landing. If you want more stories about Hollywood's biggest risks and rewards, don't forget to subscribe. Trouble started before cameras even rolled. As pre-production ramped up, salary negotiations hit a boiling point. Patrick Stewart, the face of the franchise, found himself at odds with the studio. Paramount's cost-cutting push meant Stewart was offered terms he later described as humiliating. The dispute spilled into the press, with headlines focusing on contract battles instead of the film's promise. Stewart eventually secured a reported $14 million, an increase from his previous outing, but the public fight left scars. The pressure was not limited to the captain. Marina Sirtis, beloved by fans as Counselor Troy, was told she could be replaced if she did not accept a lower offer. In a later interview, Sirtis said the studio suggested bringing in another actress at a fraction of her pay. She refused to back down, but the experience soured her view of the production. Cast morale, once high, started to crack as negotiations dragged on and optimism gave way to mounting friction. Behind the scenes, the studio's focus on the bottom line led to creative casualties. The much-anticipated wedding sequence, a moment meant to celebrate the crew's bond, was gutted. Cameos from fan favorites like Whoopi Goldberg and Will Wheaton were left on the cutting room floor. Studio executives insisted on trimming the runtime to squeeze in more daily showings, sacrificing the very emotional beats that fans cherished. But it gets worse. By the time filming wrapped, the atmosphere had changed, optimism gave way to frustration, and the sense of a true farewell was already slipping away. And the numbers don't lie. December 13, 2002. Star Trek Nemesis arrives in the theaters with the weight of a franchise on its shoulders. Hopes for a triumphant farewell collide head-on with the holiday box office wars. On opening day, the numbers begin to tell a troubling story. Nemesis pulls in $18.5 million across its first weekend, landing at number 2, just behind Maid in Manhattan, a romantic comedy with none of the expectations or budget of a Star Trek film. But it gets worse. The competition is brutal. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, still going strong, has already racked up $879 million worldwide. The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers is about to open, destined for $935 million. Even James Bond with Die Another Day is closing in on $432 million. Nemesis, by comparison, looks small. The franchise that once set box office records now finds itself crowded out. Theaters are packed, but not for Star Trek. Ticket sales charts show the film struggling to keep pace, with daily grosses falling short of projections. The placement at number 2 is not a victory, it is a warning sign. Holiday audiences are choosing fantasy and action spectacles, leaving Nemesis in the shadows. The first weekend's performance sends a chill through Paramount. The studio's plan to capture overflow crowds from other blockbusters backfires. Instead of riding a wave, Nemesis is caught in the undertow. The financial spiral has started, and the numbers don't lie. The first weekend's warning signs turned into a full-scale collapse just 7 days later. When The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers opened, Nemesis suffered a 76.2% drop, one of the steepest second weekend plunges in major studio history. Ticket sales shrank from $18.5 million at launch to just $4.4 million, and the slide did not stop there. Even as the holiday season filled theaters across the country, Nemesis managed only $4 million during the Christmas frame. The numbers don't lie. By the end of its run, Nemesis had earned just $43 million in the United States. Overseas markets added $24 million, pushing the worldwide total to $67 million. Against a production budget of $60 million, with some records listing $65 million, the movie barely cleared its own costs. But it gets worse. Theaters typically keep half of ticket sales, meaning Paramount's share was closer to $37 million. That figure did not even begin to cover the millions spent on marketing and promotion. From mass mailings to fast food tie-ins, on paper, Nemesis looked like it broke even. In reality, the studio lost millions. No Star Trek film had ever finished this far behind expectations. The verdict was inescapable. Nemesis was a financial disaster, and the damage would soon ripple far beyond the box office ledger. Paramount's response to Nemesis was swift and final. Any talk of sequels vanished almost overnight. The next generation cast, once the heart of the franchise, saw their film careers end with a single box office report. Behind closed doors, executives pulled the plug on all future movie plans. On television, the outlook was just as bleak. Star Trek. Enterprise struggled to find an audience and was canceled in 2005, leaving fans with reruns and memories. For the first time since 1979, there were no new Star Trek films in theaters. The gap stretched on month after month, year after year. 78 months would pass before another Star Trek movie reached audiences. The silence was impossible to ignore. A franchise that once felt unstoppable now sat frozen, its future uncertain and its loyal fans waiting for a sign of life. The silence finally broke in 2009. J.J. Abrams took the helm, recasting every iconic role and launching Star Trek into a new timeline. This was not a minor course correction. It was a total reset. The gamble paid off. The reboot soared to $386 million worldwide, 6 times what Nemesis had managed at home. But it gets worse. The numbers don't lie. This time the numbers told a different story. Star Trek could thrive, but only by starting over from scratch. For a franchise left for dead just years before, the success of the reboot proved that respect for legacy and a willingness to reinvent can bring even the biggest brand back to life. Franchise loyalty is never guaranteed, especially when studios ignore what fans value most. In an era where billion-dollar intellectual properties rise and fall, Nemesis stands as a warning, a reminder that even legendary worlds can vanish overnight if respect and vision are lost. But it gets worse. The numbers do not lie. What would you have done differently? Comment below what you think killed Nemesis, timing, director, or something else. Subscribe for more stories of Hollywood failure. The final lesson is simple: respect the fans, respect the franchise, and respect the creative vision.